What's up, everybody? You are tuned in to the new Del C show. Of course, I'm your host, Del C. Now, I'm going to get back to what I was talking about as far as that situation that happened in Chicago. I was talking about it yesterday. And real quick, because the news is covering this and everything. What people thought was a joke, what those kids thought was a joke, beating up that mother the way they did and beating up that kid, it is what it is. It is bullying. But see, as I told you, karma comes back and they are going to pay for what they did to this kid and this mother. Not only are they suffering from the pain, but the scar of this happening to them again. This little boy is probably petrified. He's probably like, who can you trust? Who can you trust? Now there needs to be police officers in the school that's really doing their job. The teachers need to be more in the hallways. When the kids leave to go home, they need to be out there. I feel like there needs to be people out there all the time. Not these ICE people, whatever. I'm not talking about them. I'm talking about people that actually are there to protect the community from these type of incidents from happening. And as I said, the parents, as everything starts at home. Everything starts at home, from the discipline to respecting yourself, to respecting others, to carrying yourself right, because you represent your parents. So when a kid acts like that, where do you think that kid gets that from? Now, people can blame rap, they can blame social media, they can blame television, whatever. But it starts at home. As I said before, these kids are spoiled, some of them, where they're trying to be buddy-buddy with the parents, where they're allowed to behave in any kind of manner and it's accepted. Just listening to the way that mother was talking, trying to defend something that you can't defend. Your daughter put her hands on a grown woman. And not just a grown woman. She has sickle cell and she was pregnant. But none of those things should matter. What should matter is that is a woman. We don't, can't get into people's situations and their stories. That's not important. That is important, but do you understand what I'm saying? The point I'm making is she should have not put her hands on that woman. She should have never put her hands on that boy. And those other people that were involved, those other kids that were involved, should have never been a part of that either. Never should have, did anything either. So everybody that's involved are now going to be charged, including the parents of all those little kids that did what they did to that mother and son. So now everything is coming back in full circle. Everything is coming back because thank God for social media. Somebody that was recording it got to see. Now everybody sees this and everybody is commenting it. You know how many other people are commenting on this? And it's not the news. It's everyone that's on social media that can't believe this story and have to speak on it. Like I got to speak on this. When I was doing my Spotify show, these are the issues that I would speak on. What's going on in the community. I talk about entertainment and I interview artists and all that, but I also talk about stuff like this because this is our community, whether it's Chicago or not. I'm from Boston, but crazy stuff like this happens everywhere. Okay? things, other things we got going on in the world. I heard one woman said, we need each other. We need to stick together. This is what it is. We need to go back to the days when everybody was looking out for one another. Yes, even in this world of racism or whatever, there were neighbors that actually looked out for one another. I grew up around those times, so I know what people were talking about when they say they remember those days. I remember me and my cousin was out downtown chilling or whatever, and my cousin swore, and somebody from our church said, ooh, I'm going to tell you, swore. You think he was lying? He went back and told the mother, the aunt, my aunt, his mother, and he went back and told my aunt that he seen my cousin swearing. That was the times that we lived in, and that was in the 90s or whatever, 80s or the 90s. He seen us downtown chilling, and he just heard him swear and went back and told. They wasn't playing that. Nowadays it'd be like, you're a snitch, mind your business, this and that. And then if you go to a parent and tell them what your kid is doing, the parent might flip on you and tell you, don't tell me what my kid's doing. You don't say nothing to my kid. You don't do this to my kid. And right there, that kid could cuss the mother out right in front of her while she's defending him. This is the kind of environment we live in now. Not all kids are bad like that, but these ones that's out of control is because their parents are bad. They're not doing what they're supposed to be doing. Obviously, if this could happen, we cannot, realistically, we cannot be there 24/7 to watch our kids. I get that. Their mother and I, we sent our kids to school, but we was involved in the activities and we tried to make it to every event that we could or whatever. Her a little more than me, because I was working day and night jobs, but I was there. I was there at her sitting down with the kids at school. We would be there to the after school programs or whatever. I would take my kids to school or whatever. You know what I mean? Walk them to school or whatever the case was, just to make sure that they were receiving the proper education and no one was messing with them. I got calls that people were trying to bully my daughters. Then one of my daughters, she eventually turned to Mike Tyson. You know what I'm saying? And started, or Ali, or whoever. Chris, you know what I'm saying? Where she started fighting back. You know what I mean? And you got to defend yourself. You got to defend yourself. But I never encouraged my daughters to be bullies. I never encouraged my son to be a bully. My son he ain't into all that anyway. He was always quiet and did what he had to do or whatever. I heard little things here and there, and I go and handle that or whatever the case was. But it was never serious like that, But my daughter, she got into it with a couple people, man. A couple people was messing with her, and she wasn't going for it. So, you know what I mean? But I don't encourage bullying. I don't encourage that. You know what I mean? But you got to defend yourself, and that's what my daughter did. So, but this situation here, like if I heard my daughter going up to a woman and beating the woman up and beating the kid up for no reason, she definitely is going to be in trouble for that. And I will make her personally go to that hospital and apologize to that mother and that son. And it wouldn't be no wouldn't be no laughing, wouldn't be no fake, none of that. You would apologize to this woman and you would apologize to this boy, and you would and listen, whatever charges they put on you, it's like, and I would be there like, no, I don't encourage my daughter to do this. I would go to court. I would do all that. And I would get on that mic and say, listen, I do not encourage my daughters to do this. And I'm not going to be like that mother talking about, oh, she's a good student. She's this, she's that. No. Like my mother used to say, look, you get in trouble for something, I can't say what you would or would not do. I would say, I hope and pray you didn't do what they saying you doing. But she can't sit there and say, my kid would never do that. I was in situations with somebody else's kid when I was in a relationship and she was getting her niece or whatever out of school. And the mother sitting there talking about, my daughter would never do that. And seeing her showing her butt right in front of the mother. Okay? Right in front of the mother. So you can't sit there and say what your kid wouldn't do. And getting good grades have nothing to do, again, I said this on the last video, nothing to do with your behavior. Okay? Has nothing to do with your behavior, how you act. You know what I'm saying? So it's crazy. You know what I mean? And let this be a lesson to all you kids, disrespectful kids, and parents of these disrespectful kids. You've seen what happened to these kids, and these parents, they are being charged for doing what they did to an innocent woman and an innocent kid. A pregnant mother that has sickle cell. And a boy had to sit there and watch. What I want to know is, though, where are the fathers at? Where is the father of this boy? You know, we and I can't take shots at him because I don't know the situation. He could have been at work. He could have been whatever. But these situations where the father is absent, that's why I always try to be there in my kids' life, even though I'm no longer with their mother anymore. I haven't been with her in years. But we still keep in touch because we have kids together. So we have to make sure, even at the age they are now, that they're doing what they're supposed to be doing. And we're helping them. They don't say, oh, you turned 20, whatever, that's it. No, we brought these kids in this world. So my mother said, look, you may be 52 years old, but you still my son. I need to know everything you're doing. I'm like, mom, you know what I'm saying? I'm 52 years old. But parents will never stop being parents no matter how old you get. No matter how old they get, they're going to let you know, you still my boy. Even though you're a grown man, I respect that, but you still my little boy. You know what I mean? So the thing is, we got to look out for our kids. You're going to face the consequences when you do something like this, though. And it shouldn't be just them. It should be a lot of other people that did things. Like, for instance, I just told you about that boy, them kids that tried to hang this black boy. This in the second grade, it was in the fourth grade or whatever. They tried to hang this boy talking about they was playing. You don't play like that. They weren't playing. They seen their parents talking about that, or maybe their parents are Ku Klux Klan or whatever. But you do not hang that. We ain't playing those games. We ain't playing those games where you try to hang me. Nah, that's a serious thing. Remember, a lot of black people, and recently a black kid off campus died and got hung on a tree. So we're not hearing that. We're not hearing that. This is not a good time. It's never been a good time for y'all to play these games. Talking about, oh, they were playing. Let's put on the black face. Let's hang some niggers. I said it. No, we ain't playing that. We're not playing that. So yes, that mother and that father should charge those people. Charge them kids that were involved and the parents, just like you did to these kids over here in Chicago. Do the same thing for them. Okay, because every situation is different. That was a racial situation over there with, trying to hang the little boy. This situation here, this is what happens when parents are not raising their kids right. This is an example of that. And yes, I do blame the parents. Yes, I do. I do. You cannot, of course, you cannot see everything a kid does. I already know that. Like I said, but we can't be oblivious to what's going on. We got to know what the hell's going on. You know what I'm saying? That saying goes, it's such and such a clock. Do you know where your kids is? My mother and father can say, yes, my son is right home. And when I was somewhere too late, my mother would say, listen, make sure you get your narrow ass and come your ass home, because we didn't have cell phones or nothing like that. And guess what? There was no argument. There was no nothing. I made sure that I got home so I wouldn't get no ass whooping. That's what it was then. Okay? We live in a different time, man, with social media. Social media could be good or bad.